there's so much pressure when you have something major that interrupts your life to get back to where you were. I don't want to get back to where I was. I want it to be better than where it was, which is an impossible ask. But of course I do, because I want more time with my family, more time with my friends, more time for me. I want to work less and earn more, better work in nicer, hotter, sunnier climates. You know, I want it all.
Yeah.
And that's massively unrealistic. It was niggling away in the back of my mind. And a few other little things. And I was like, okay, yeah, I need to get that checked out. So I did, and I went the next day. That got straight away referred. I had to wait about 3 weeks. And on that appointment, he was, the consultant was pretty clear that it was probably cancer. I'd made a conscious choice to try and frame it as positively as I could. The hardest part actually came, as I say, this time last year, January, where the worst part of my recovery was try to be positive about stuff, but in a goal-oriented way. You're still not in that equation.
No.
Going, I'm going to be really positive because I've done this work today and I've earned this money and that gets me here in my career. Right, what about you? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you meet nice people?
Hi, Chris. Thanks for joining me today. I mean, obviously we go way back, and I know a little bit about your, I suppose, your work, your career, and how that process has changed. I mean, I think it's fair to say you're a creative person, and originally your background was more vocal, the singing side, singer-songwriter, and things like that. And you've done acting and live stuff, but obviously during that process, most people, their jobs change what they do, but yours has changed, and it's also you've been forced to change it.
Yeah, it's been a kind of interesting process, actually. So like you say, I kind of started off as a singer-songwriter. I mean, completely amateur, but that was my kind of love of the creative arts came through just, here's the thing I just really enjoy, and let's do it because I enjoy it. And actually, isn't that its own reward? And then as you start developing things, you go, well, if I can do that and enjoy that, maybe I would like it on stage, or maybe I have ideas that would work in a different format. So try writing or try producing and bringing other people together and doing that sort of stuff. But it has evolved over the years, like you say. And, while there's been kind of acting and a lot of on-camera work and a lot of live events work, the big curveball has been, well, I always use my voice. All of that is dependent on my voice, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I have been forced to change because a couple of years ago, I was diagnosed with throat cancer. So it's a big shock to be a creative, unable to be creative, and unable to rely on my voice in the same way. And what does the future hold for that? There's been a lot of big questions with that.
Yeah, I mean, that must come as quite a shock. So, talk me through that, how you sort of discovered that. Because I think when we've had conversations, you were feeling a bit unwell, but wasn't quite sure, just thought you had a bit of a sore throat.
Yeah, that's it. I kind of spent about 6 months feeling pretty off, as if I've just been ill rather than I am ill. I'm wiped out. What is it? Am I taking on too much? And that had kind of gone on quite a long time. And I made some big changes out of that kind of process. I was very busy over Christmas. This is 2003 and into 2004. Sorry, that's not right. 2023 into 2024, so I'm going way back. It shows why I don't work in maths, I'd made some big changes. I started saying no to a lot of work, freeing up a lot of time and going to the gym and things like that, focusing on me a little bit, what I wanted. And actually, I really started feeling good. That's the weird thing. By doing those sort of big changes, I was like, I feel on top of things. The sun's coming out, it's summer again, and I'm kind of feeling really good. But there were some big questions. And I remember doing a gig, and I don't do them that often as a musician. So I'm doing my own stuff and I'm singing, and I know how I can sing my own songs. No one else does, so it's fine. If I'm getting it wrong, they don't know. But there was definitely a moment where I was like, oh, why isn't that working in quite the right way? What's going on? And I remember saying to my boss on that day, who just happened to be there, going, that sounds, or it feels weird. And she was like, oh, it's fine. It sounds fine. Yeah, and it was there. It was niggling away in the back of my mind. And a few other little things. But actually, I had a tooth out. I had, a cracked tooth. It was an emergency dentist.
Yeah.
And it was the surgeon who, when I opened my mouth, says, "Oh, have you got a sore throat?" So, "Oh no, that's just my weird tonsil. It always looks like that."
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, it shouldn't look like that." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, I need to get that checked out." So I did, and I went the next day. That got straight away referred. I had to wait about 3 weeks. And on that appointment, he was, the consultant was pretty clear that it was probably cancer. But he couldn't say for sure because I hadn't done the biopsies and the tests. So there was another 3 weeks before it was kind of fully confirmed. But basically at the end of summer 2024, I kind of knew that I got cancer. I'm going to have to go in on chemo, radio. It's my throat, and because of the nature of it. So it was contained to a tonsil, my right tonsil. But because of the nature of it, they can't operate. They've got to shrink it, and it can affect a lot of other things, the use of muscles and just my jaw itself. And so there's a lot that could have happened.
Yeah.
But actually, I was very lucky because I responded really well, and mostly things have come back, but it's a long road still. Yeah.
I mean, during that moment when you're talking to the consultant, I mean, there must have been a lot going through your head because first of all, just getting told, it's cancer or potentially cancer, that's a big shock for anyone.
It is.
Regardless of what they do. And then, like you said there, your work, nearly all of it involves your voice.
Yeah.
And they've said it's in your throat.
Yes. My first thought was, I need to record everything I haven't recorded, because if that's the part of me that's under threat and it might never come back, I don't care about work. My songs, my music is lost to the world. And I know that sounds impossibly arrogant, but that's what goes through your head. Like, if I die tomorrow, that's gone. All that effort, all that work is just vanished. And that was the panic I had, actually. I couldn't think too far in the future because I didn't know if the treatment would work.
No.
How long all these things would take. I mean, in the event, it took 6 weeks and, kind of a good few months recovery after that. And I'm still recovering, to be honest. But it might have been that, that didn't work. We've got to go straight back in. And this could be years and years of treatment with, much worsening effects and things like that. So the short-term panic was, I need to record. I've got to get as much down as I can just to preserve it. I don't know, for me, for the world.
Whatever, yeah. But that was, thought a lot of, because a lot of effort goes into creating your own creative stuff.
Yeah.
Often more than if you're being paid for a bit of work.
Yes.
You think about
you labour
yourself.
over this stuff.
It's, labour, love, and, you really go for it. And the thought that actually all of that could have gone to waste.
Yeah. And, the problem was, I'm not particularly technically minded. So I don't really know how to record things. And that's my own barrier. I've got all the gear, all the equipment.
All the gear, no idea.
Exactly, really. But there was this sort of moment that I need to learn it and get it down just enough to a basic level that I can build it up and do stuff with it later. But as long as I've preserved this fragile moment, because, I've got 3 weeks. The problem with this, though, is trying to do your best creative work and expressive work when you're under huge pressure imposed by myself, but feeling very much that pressure with this big, heavy cancer diagnosis hanging over me. And the thought that in a few weeks' time, I've got to undertake all this treatment. I've got to get my affairs in order. And I don't mean, writing a will and things like that.
No.
But there's a lot of admin that goes into not working for, an indeterminate amount of time.
Yeah.
Needed to get some kind of government help for my income, but I'm self-employed. That's confusing. And then there are things to do with, nursery top-up fees and things like that, which are unbelievably complicated if you're self-employed and you don't know how long you're not going to be working for. Things like that. It just swallowed time. And I'm like, no, I need to sing. I need to do this. And then, a neighbour gets the mower out and you can't record that afternoon because they're mowing their lawn and it's too noisy.
Like, I've only got 3 weeks here.
Yeah, don't you realise, guys? But it's a self-imposed kind of panic. And I started to relax into it and go, you know what? I think it's more important that I don't run myself ragged, that I get a little bit rested, that I enjoy life a little bit. I mean, my doctors were telling me, put weight on. enjoy it because you're not going to want to eat for quite a while. Enjoy yourself now. But also keep going to the gym and things, like be strong and fit, and just be prepared. So as much as I was like, I've got to do everything, no, I also need to calm down and let it be what it is. And that was a real lesson, actually.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for that. Quite often we panic and then try and want to do everything.
Yes.
In the fear that you're not going to be able to do it. But actually, you're just putting extra strain on your body.
Yeah. And like I say, it's not really conducive to your best work anyway.
No,
Saying,
no.
I've got 10 minutes to record my best vocal ever.
Yeah.
I mean, you're already right up there and tight. Nothing, it's not going to come out great, is it?
No.
That was the panic. That was the difficulty. So it was a really strange time because I'm trying to spend time with family and I'm trying to see friends and, enjoy life and do all of these things, knowing that this pretty rubbish time is going to, is just around the corner. But also use my time like as if it's a job to do my best ever creative work under massive amounts of self-imposed pressure. It's ridiculous.
and I mean, you said there that the financial aspect as well, because I know that's the boring side of any creative work, but actually, everyone needs to eat. You need an income, and you got a family.
Yeah.
And you were going to be without work for, like you say, I'm not too sure.
No, I mean, I knew it was a minimum of 6 months.
Yeah,
that I'd be out. They were very clear on that. It's a relatively short treatment time, kind of twice that length again for recovery, the full, the early stage recovery to get yourself back up. But they've always said to me, it's a 2-year recovery minimum. Like, am I not going to be able to work for 2 years? I mean, I've got money behind me because I've saved and I've been very frugal over the years. But 2 years in this economy, I mean, it's a lot. Yeah. So there are those worries as well. And I'm very lucky. My partner Claire has a good job, and we have been frugal and we've saved. And we've got money, but we've got a daughter, and she's just started school now. So we're like, how's this going to affect her? There's just so much in the mix, as there is for anyone who goes through some kind of big health scare and. Well, not just a scare, the reality of it.
Yeah.
But as a self-employed person, there's this sort of undetermined pressure, if you like, that if you don't do a job for someone, they will find someone to fill that job, and then you lose the job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Going forward.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of that time, that sort of prep time ahead of my treatment was spent talking to my bosses who I've worked with for years, saying, I will be back.
Yeah.
I want to come back. And they're like, yeah. And everyone's really supportive. But they do have that pressure on them that they have a problem and they need someone to
come in and do it. Yeah.
Come in and do it.
It is business.
That's it. And then the role gets filled. And if that other person is good, great. I want someone good to come in and help them out. I don't want anyone to be struggling because of what's going on with me. But I have a job. And I want to be able to do that when I am able to do that. But it's difficult stepping back in, of course.
I mean, before we get onto the work, has it changed your outlook on, like, you said you're always sensible with money anyway. Have you continued that and maybe not?
I'm less
or has it made you go, life's really short?
Yeah, a bit. Yeah. It hasn't made me go, in that nihilistic kind of way. Like, nothing matters, It's just not really in my nature to go and spank all my money on things that I don't need.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, life is short and you do have to live. And weirdly, I look back at that period when I had cancer, but it was undiagnosed, thinking I felt good for not saying yes to everything. So putting me back in the equation, cancer and the treatment made me have to do that. But I'd kind of consciously done it in a way already. And life was better. So I don't want to go, there's so much pressure when you have something major that interrupts your life to get back to where you were. I don't want to get back to where I was. I want it to be better than where it was, which is an impossible ask. But of course I do, because I want more time with my family, more time with my friends, more time for me. I want to work less and earn more, better work in nicer, hotter, sunnier climates. I want it all.
Yeah.
And that's massively unrealistic. But that's what I'm going to work towards. It's a weird one. Rather than just chugging along, to set goals and to put me in the equation and say, what do I want out of this, professionally and personally, and for the people that I love? What do we need? The equation has changed, definitely.
Yeah, that personal realization as well is really key, because I think as someone I'm self-employed, so therefore you say yes to every bit of work because like you say, you don't want the client to go and find someone else. Also, you sort of think, well, I work for myself, so I should be working, and you get caught up in that very easy. And actually, when you're almost forced to change, or you started to subconsciously change, you started to realize actually the world's slightly bigger than just saying yes to every job you get offered.
It's definitely that, but it's also that you look back over that period of time that you were saying yes to everything. And what did I do? Like, I know my diary was full, and I know my bank account is kind of looking quite healthy, but there's two kind of problems with that. None of it's for you, so it's always that you're a kind of bit player in your own story. So therefore, the story hasn't really cemented. There's nothing to hang a memory off. You might have done some cool jobs in between, in that time. But it's not for you. So 5 years feels like a year, and yet there's a lot more grey going on, and those things. Yeah. The other problem is that if you say yes to everything, then it's just a treadmill. Yeah, it just chugs on, goes on and on and on. Nothing really changes because you don't have any time to devote and invest in yourself. Yeah. But also you are just tied up doing that. And this has happened for me kind of a few times in a way where I've started saying no a little bit more. Then you're freer, and then good opportunities come along, really good ones that build to something new, and then go, are you able to do this? Well, yes, I am actually, because I didn't say yes to all that other. And I don't just mean lower paid, I mean the stuff that you want to do. Yeah. Sometimes you do that for the opportunity, even though the money isn't great, or it might connect you in the right way. Sometimes you do it just because you think it might be fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes, there's no money involved at all, like me coming on here, seeing my old schoolmate talking about this stuff, because you think, I do have a point of view and I would like to talk about it. Yeah, exactly. And that might help some people as well. It's not just like it's a working day and I've got to fill it with work. No. Do you know what I mean? There's a richness that you can build into how you plan your day and your career and your work that doesn't just involve filling your diary and paying your bills. Yeah. It is a much more complicated
being really
equation.
Conscious about the things you say yes to, because there is actually, you think I say yes to everything, but actually every time you say yes, you are saying no to something else.
Opportunity cost is massive.
Yeah. And you don't always realise that. And whether it's opportunity or purely spending time at home or being able to go to the gym that day or whatever it is, every yes, actually, there's a no to something else. So it's being really specific, really conscious about, what am I saying yes to? And do I really want to do this?
Totally. And you don't know the answer.
No.
That's what's scary about it. You kind of go into that process going, I'm going to say no. And I don't quite know why, other than this sort of loose sense of faith in the future.
Yeah.
And I'm not a particularly mystical or religious person or anything like that. So to have faith in a very rational universe is quite a weird thing.
Yeah.
But if you don't, like I say, you'll be 5 years just chugging along, as I found myself, going, what has it built towards? Other than, and this is not to denigrate it at all, other than I paid my bills and I still managed to, start a family and do those things.
Yeah.
But there is more. And at some point, I suppose it's not burning down the house, it's kind of recalibrating that equation just a bit to put yourself back in. And like I say, I started doing that a bit. Cancer and kind of treatment for that and the long road of recovery absolutely forced me to do it.
Yeah.
But as I've come out of that equation is recalibrated and I have to find the new things,
Do you think age plays a certain part in this? Because I've very much had it that I think I've sort of said yes to everything. Because, in your 20s, there's obviously millions of years left of your life,
Yeah.
Yeah. And then suddenly you hit your 40s and you're like, actually, time is ticking away and I'm not quite sure what I'm doing. I certainly got it where I hit my 40s and I was like, oh, so this is it. Because I was always felt like I was young and I was doing stuff and growing something.
Yeah.
And then you get to that stage and you're like, actually, is this it? Is this really what I want to be doing?
I'm too old to start again.
Yeah.
And if I've got to build on what I've got now, is that the right foundation?
Yeah, well, the foundation's right.
Yeah, I've absolutely gone through that. And that's not to say that, I've got, when I hit 40 and now I'm 45, I'm past it.
No.
But I mean, it's interesting actually, because as an actor, your casting type changes. And there is a bias in that. I kind of hit 40, which was 2020. So when the pandemic hit, so there was quite a dividing line between one sort of work and others.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I very much went from, kind of leading man and, the kind of office nice guy and things like that in all sorts of ranges of jobs.
Yeah.
To dad and wanker banker. You need a kind of slick, sleazy guy. I'm your man, apparently. Which is weird because I'm not motivated by money at all, other than paying bills,
Yeah.
But my casting type changed. Now, if that's an external force coming in on you to do with age, it's impossible not to tie this stuff into your age and be very conscious of your age and how you're changing. But the flip side of that is I don't feel any less able to do any of the stuff I could, particularly. My knees are a bit short. My back's a bit jiffy and whatever.
You make little noises when you get off the ground.
Weirdly, yes.
I don't know where they came from.
The ground, off a chair. But it's, are there things that I'm purposefully kind of not going for now because of my age? Not really. I mean, I feel like experience trumps kind of the youthful good looks or the, whatever.
Yeah.
100 times over. So I feel way more comfortable doing the things I used to do. The only difference I would say is when you're younger, it's quite random, the opportunities that come your way. So you say yes just to build something.
Yeah.
So I've always worked quite a lot with English heritage. And, we grew up in Battle and I work at Battle Abbey and I've done their ghost tours for many, many years now. I think 12 years, something like that. That came through completely randomly through a casting to get in on TV job because I looked like Nikola Tesla, and it was, and I ended up getting the role. And then the guy, my boss, Mark Griffin, so big shout out to him, he's a legend. But he called me back in for another job 6 weeks later. And it was then we got talking about how I've always done a lot of improv and things like that. And then he said, do you know anything about the Battle of Hastings? Oh, mate, I grew up in Battle. I know all about it. Right. That's how accidental it is. Now, coincidentally, I listen to history podcasts. I didn't do history at school or college or anything, but I'm into it.
Yeah.
But it just came together. Now, you could say that's cosmic. You could say that kind of is meant to be. But it's way more accidental than any of that. It was, here's an opportunity. Does it fit? Yes, actually it does for these reasons. And you guide, and you do have some agency in that to guide the areas where it does fit and away from when it doesn't fit. So you can look at it as being all cosmic and mystical and everything. I really think that as accidental as it all is, in some way, we naturally move through the channels that we kind of open up as well.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. I know that's getting a little bit metaphysical, but...
No, but I do know what you mean. Sometimes, people say, you create your own luck and things like that. And there is a little bit of that. Sometimes you've just got to be in the right place. Yeah. And I guess that is that balance of what opportunity is to say yes to and no. Because we've spoke about saying no, but sometimes you do need to... Something's like, I think I'm going to do this. I'm not quite sure why. It's not going to pay all the bills like I originally thought. But it can lead on to something and it helps you find out actually what you do enjoy. Yeah. I've taken on jobs that I haven't necessarily thought, don't know if that's quite my thing, but you're like, actually, I really enjoyed that.
And particularly when you're younger, you don't know what you're going to enjoy and what you're not. So you do kind of shop around a little bit and see what fits. As you get older, it's actually easy to close yourself off to that kind of new experience. But I think it's worth doing. I do think it's worth challenging yourself and kind of going, you know what am I going to get out of this? I might meet some really cool creative people. It might be a passion project. It might be that it's really good money and I've got to learn to suck it up, and do a job that I'm not that interested in, but find those skills to make it work for me personally as well as what you put out there. So there's all sorts of kind of what's the word? All sorts of rewards that you can get out of kind of saying yes as much as saying no. It's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah. There is the little nuances between what you need to do to survive, but also survive financially, because that's the economy we live in. But equally, you want to survive in yourself and feel proud of some of your work and happy. Because if you're getting home every day like, that was the worst day ever, you know, it doesn't matter what money you're getting paid, eventually that is gonna eat you.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll just get fed up of it.
And this is the thing as well. If you're self-employed, I think this is true of a lot of people. If you go into the arts and you're self-employed, you know, you're not relying on the big break. If you are relying on a big break, you're going to be in trouble. But actually, it's perfectly credible to not have a big break and work very happily and very successfully in your life. I never wanted to be famous. Loads of my friends never wanted to be famous. We just want to do good creative stuff, and we have integrity in the work that we do. But I really think that we kind of do it to facilitate our own creativity in some way.
Yeah.
So what's frustrating is if you say yes to everything all the time, there's no room for you in it. You don't get any of your stuff done, but you still get all the sacrifices that you make as if you were doing that, you know, as if you were doing your own projects. So you might still not be making great money. You might be working lots of weekends and unsociable hours and missing holidays and weddings and things.
Yeah.
Thinking, it's not even my project that I'm sweating for.
Yeah.
So why am I doing it over and over? Now, money's a big part of that equation, of course.
Yeah.
But it's not the only part. And that's definitely the switch that's happened with me. The weighting has changed a lot in my thinking.
I think it's something a lot of people struggle with, and it's very easy for us, certainly into our 40s, and like you say, maybe have been able to save a bit of money and got ourselves in a position to say, oh, it's not all about the money. And there's someone watching going, hang on, man, I'm just trying to pay the rent, you know. So I get it completely. But it's maybe just having that at the back of your mind, that don't work just for the money.
Well, I don't think it's sustainable, weirdly, because there's too many sacrifices if you're just doing it in pursuit of either some magical goal like a big break, or just to get through. If it's just to get through, just to pay your bills, but you're not actually being a creative person, just get a job, and then you'll have way more free time to do your own stuff.
Yeah.
Don't do this, because this swallows up a lot of time, and you know you're wearing lots of different hats, and it's mentally exhausting. And you kind of think, oh well, at least I'm exercising my creative skills. It's a busman's holiday. The last thing you want to do when you've been out doing all this stuff, or when you've been working on, I don't know, a corporate script or something all day, is then go, right, well now I've got words in my head, I'm going to write a novel.
Yeah.
You're not going to do it. It's too much. So it isn't sustainable to think that this is a good way to just kind of plod on, like you are a product. You're not. You have to be a creative person. You know, if you are a creative person, you have to feed that beast for yourself.
And I mean, so talking about that, you know, it's been a couple of years now since the cancer diagnosis. You've had treatment. So you're still in that recovery phase slightly?
I am. So I finished treatment in the end of November 2024.
Yeah.
The hardest part of recovery kind of kicked in after that. Okay. So actually it was about this time last year, kind of middle of January, that was my really tough time.
Yeah.
And it's weird what the body does. I mean, out of nowhere, my thyroid went crazy and I dropped about 3 stone in 3 weeks. And, I had a resting heart rate of 122 a week after I'd been bedbound. So I don't know what it was like when I was...
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I've just run to my absolute limit. And it's like, what's happening? It was really strange. And they're still investigating it. It's a very long, protracted process. But I got my first all clear in March. And I literally just had another one yesterday. So that, you know, these continue kind of every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And I think now it's tripping over to every 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
And then all in all, it's about 5 years for the checkups. So I'm 1 year into what they always said was a 2-year recovery. Now, if you'd asked me that question in summer, I'd be like, I've beaten it. I feel amazing and everything's brilliant.
Yeah.
I got a cold in September, and because it's this whole area, you know, I'm no longer immunocompromised directly from the chemo or the radio. No. But this whole area is just a bit sort of weak and pathetic, I suppose. And I just couldn't shake it. But I'd said yes to all these really cool jobs and, you know, projects and just lots of different things when I felt great. And I'm a bit like that in summer anyway. Like I can do anything in summer and the weather starts turning.
Yeah.
But I was doing an amazing job for Philips, so this medical conference. I was in Amsterdam and I was so ill with this sinus infection. And I had to do the same kind of show against this video background every half an hour. So for 7 minutes, I was not ill. Yeah, I would come out, absolutely do the show, you know, whatever crowds I've got, big energy. It was very cool and response with the video content as if we're interacting. So I could not drop a breath, cough, stumble over my words. It was very tight. But for 23 minutes, I was backstage going, oh, I'm so ill. And I really was very ill, but that you can't stop.
No.
Ordinarily then, your body can get over things. But because I just didn't have the chance to stop and it's just the nature of it, that really hit me hard. And honestly, it kind of all came to a head with the last week of my Christmas work. So I was actually finishing a little early to go and have a holiday. But that very last week, I just suddenly couldn't do anything. I was really unwell. And I cancelled 4 jobs, which is a record. Previously, you know, Dr. Theatre steps in.
Yeah.
I think I've cancelled the odd day here and there. And I'm talking over 20 years.
Yeah.
You know, I think 2 or 3 days maybe. 4 jobs in 1 week, just laid up in bed. So it comes to a head and you get that rest and you feel a lot better. One of the real ongoing problems, actually 2 ongoing problems I have from it, is that I have an incredibly dry mouth a lot of the time. I have to sleep with like special mints to kind of help me have something going on.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a real problem when you use your voice a lot to go, yeah, I need a kind of drink. And you might not have access to that in the middle of a show. You're doing a scene or whatever. The other problem is this kind of underlying fatigue. And it's definitely there. And it's definitely real. But it's not the same as just feeling a bit done in or a bit tired, a bit sleepy. It's like your body shuts down in the weirdest way. So I don't sleep a lot. I never have done. But the way I don't sleep has changed. So I used to struggle to get to sleep and then be awake a lot in the night and things like that. Now it gets to like, I don't know, 9, 9:15, if I'm lucky, and I just go. And it's like a switch.
Yeah.
And I can go fully. So I've got to be in bed for that. But it means I can't do jobs where I'm driving late or anything because I'm not
just
in control.
Exhausted, yeah,
not in control of it. But I'll often wake up at like 3:30 in the morning, and that's when my day starts because I'm just awake.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Sort of feel rested, but it's a long day, you know. And so you have to plan your energy in a completely different way around the work I might have. If I've got my own list of things I need to do, you know, my own work, if you like.
Yeah.
What can I do for that? I really have to plan it. And I have to also listen to my body in a way that you don't when you're young. You just get on with it.
No. Well, you bounce back from things very quickly. And because it's fine. You just crack on.
I'll be all right.
Yeah.
Everything like that. But now it's, I'm a project manager for my own body. It's really strange. But also like going to the gym isn't like, it's quite nice and I feel good when I do it. I absolutely have to keep myself at a base level of being able to function. And like stretching and things like that. I don't know if it's common to all. I've heard that it's the chemo that does it because it strips away a lot of the new growth. Okay. Everything gets very tight. And even now I have to stretch every night. I don't want to.
No.
I have to do it or else, you know, give it a few days and I'm like, things are getting difficult in a way they never did before. So there's all these kind of new things and there's a limit to how much you can fit in a day. So actually my working day has got shorter even if I feel fit to work because I have to build in all this other stuff. So it's a hard one, yeah.
So it's really taken a toll on just your body.
Yeah.
But on your mind as well, on you said thinking about your project managing your own body. So you're constantly sort of thinking ahead about, if I've got that job, will I have time to recover, ready
Massively.
for this job?
Yeah. I used to book my diary up back to back. Yeah. I did one summer where I don't think I had a single day off for 3 months. And that felt good because I was like, I am working, I'm doing all these things. I felt really dynamic and creative and it was cool. Now it's like, right, if I do that job and I've got this time to recover, I can say yes to that job.
Yeah.
But if any curveballs come in on that, or this sort of illness that I can't shake for 3 or 4 months, and, you know, I think a lot of people actually deal with long-term stuff that's not necessarily a diagnosable thing. A lot of people sleep badly and are just used to a level of tiredness, and it sort of becomes the norm.
Yeah.
Problem is, this is a new normal for me, and I'm still learning it.
Yeah.
And I'm very conscious of it. And I think it will either settle down in terms of how extreme it is on my body, but also I would just become less conscious of it. But at the moment, as I kind of come back into work, all cocky in summer, feeling great, bit of a tough kind of autumn and winter, and then kind of start again, it's like, right, I have to think of it differently. I have to. So even though we talked about how the equations changed, in terms of the toll on my mind, it's like I can't do the things I used to do, which is really tough, actually. Like mentally, that's really hard. To go from someone who's quite dynamic and doing lots of different creative things, going, yeah, I actually have quite a lot of limits now. That's really hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting hearing you sort of saying that, because I've sort of struggled with that a little bit, of even just probably my body and going to the gym and recovery times and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's on a almost self-imposed. I've worked hard at the gym, but yeah, okay, walking down the stairs the following day I can feel that.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, the amount I go to the gym, I should be massive. I'm going 5 times a week for like 2 hours at a time, half an hour of that stretching.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's frustrating. So they go, oh, where is it all?
Yeah.
But
our bodies change as well.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, even down to like testosterone levels.
Yeah.
You know, we're in our 40s now. And,
right.
you know, going to the gym is probably one of the best things that we can do to try and pack on a bit of muscle and also
but mentally as well.
And mentally as well.
Yeah.
You know, I think why you go to the gym changes.
Yeah.
I certainly found that, you know, sort of in the 20s, you know, just you wanted your biceps to look good in a t-shirt in the summer. Now it's like, it's as much for my head as it is for my body.
Yeah, I was never particularly a gym goer. There have been kind of phases of my life where I've done it more than others. And that's partly because I'm kind of thinking it's good for my career and it kind of helps and all of that. But partly just because I get into it and then I just get busy or whatever and drift away from it. These days, it's absolutely essential for my mental health. I really feel it if I don't go. And one of the reasons is that all my hobbies became my job. And that was cool when I was using them all and kind of going, feeling really dynamic and I'm really busy and I'm using everything and doing all of that. Now that everything's sort of a struggle, work-wise, my hobbies are a struggle. So, you know, I talked about how I started as a singer and then I taught myself guitar because I wanted to write songs. I wasn't particularly interested in doing covers or anything. It was just to do my own thing. Yeah. Because I can't sing at the moment. It might come back, but it's just my vocal cords are unaffected, but it's very weak. You know, the muscles around it and my throat and I lack confidence. And I've had a long period of not doing it, so everyone, you know, out of practice. But I haven't really been able to do it now for like a year and a bit. So I haven't picked up the guitar in like a year. And it's really strange because it's like mentally, my mental image of myself, my identity, if you like, is that I'm a singer and everything springs from that. What am I if I'm not that? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. What a strange thing.
Yeah, your identity has been... you've built yourself around that identity. It's a sort of self-imposed
creatively,
thing.
Everything sprung from that kind of... Not just because I sort of found it easy to be fairly good at singing, if you like. Yeah. I still had to work at it, but I loved it. Yeah. And then if I don't love it and I'm not doing it and I'm not that anymore, but I'm still doing the other things, it's almost like there's a hole at the foundation of my creative identity. It's really weird. And I don't have the answer. I'm sort of thinking aloud, if you like, because it's so new.
There's a possibility it could come back.
Yeah. But I think I'll have to work at it. Yeah. To train it back up, which feels like a big mountain to climb. When I've also got other things that I need to kind of put my energies into, like rebuilding my career and moving into new directions.
Yeah, well, talk about that. Talk about your career, because like you say, your identity was built around singer-songwriter and you can't currently sing. Yeah. But you can talk.
I can talk, and you know, I've always done voiceovers. I've always done kind of on-camera work where it's much more talking than big performance stuff.
Yeah.
I actually made a return to doing the ghost tours at Battle Abbey in October. I saw you. You came along.
I was there.
Yeah. And I was really worried about that because that was the first job where I would be projecting out loud to potentially, hundreds of people at a time.
Yeah.
And it's a big, loud, open space. So you got to be big, I was worried. But actually, it worked. It was okay. We made some changes to kind of the format so that I wasn't moving people around, which is where I'm really shouting at people to hurry things up.
Yeah.
So there was that kind of aspect of it. But, I talked about the fatigue. I can't remember lines in the way that I used to for doing the very quick turnaround kind of acting work, which is how you pay your bills, the bread and butter kind of acting work. If you're doing a show, you've got weeks, maybe months to learn your script.
Yeah.
You turn up on a corporate job, they've given you the script the night before, maybe. They've changed the lines when you get there.
Yeah.
You try it and they go, yeah, we still don't like it. Can we do this? And they move things around. And not just corporate work, that can be anything on camera.
Yeah.
And you've got to adapt. And I don't have the confidence in my my memory at the moment. So it's kind of, it's almost like laying down the things that you can do and to what degree, and then matching it up to the bits that you used to do and seeing what can still happen, if you like. So I'm kind of now looking at professionally, like presenting work, live events, emceeing. So that's kind of going to be my big kind of change that I'm rebranding, if you like, as the event MC.
Yeah.
Amazingly, I was able to buy those kind of domain names, the social media handles for the event MC or event MC. I'm amazed.
Yeah.
But I'm doing a kind of big relaunch, if you like, into that specifically, but with a view that work still facilitates my creative work.
Yeah.
So that I can still go, you know what? I do still want to carry on writing, but that's a massive time sink, so I can't devote my time to that at the moment.
Yeah.
I do want to rediscover music, but that'll take time and energy, and I need to build things up financially and for myself, knowing that my career is kind of back on track, even though it's taken a little bit of a turn, you know. But kind of keep the door open for the other things that I used to do, because there's some really good opportunities that sort of come along. And you don't ever want to say no to good stuff, you know, and whatever that good is that you can get out of it, you know. So it's been really hard, because it would have been very easy at this point just to go, right, that's it, creatively, it's too hard, I can't trust it, let's get a job.
Yeah.
Let's get a whatever job. I can't do it because I'm
You've always been creative in the way you've rediscovered what you can do.
I'm too old to change, Matt. Come on, let's be honest. It's a part of it though, isn't it? Yeah.
But being an event MC, there is some creativity behind that you know, because I'm guessing in quite a lot of those things you end up, while you've got some bits you're meant to say, there is some thinking on your feet. There is some interacting with the crowd.
It's amazing
how brings that creative side out.
Yeah, it's amazing how many different skills that I worked on and felt that were disparate skills growing up or kind of throughout my creative life, that suddenly you come together and go, yeah, you know, I started as an improviser. Yeah. This is an improv job. There are things to, you know, a script that you might have to make work. But then all my work on writing and, you know, when I started my master's, it was all about, well, it's professional writing. So it's unpicking language and how it works as, you know, the messages, the stories in it and why that speaks to people. Well, I can take your bullet points then and improvise that off the hoof and see what lands with the audience.
Yeah.
But then standing up on stage as a performer, knowing how to read the audience and feed off them and give them what they need and adapt what you need to do to fit the mood and guide. You know, there's all these different things, even down to, you know, work I've done on stage, but directing or producing and you know, pulling shows together, having that umbrella view of how an event works. I mean, we were talking about this off camera. Yeah. Connecting those dots. Yeah. It's not like I come in and do this tiny part of this thing, but that's my blinkered view. That's all I need to think about. You need to have an understanding of what's going on around you and how it all connects up, because that's how you service all the different things. Bring it together, give it the right voice to the right people at the right time. It sort of
Yeah.
sounds easy when you say it, but it's only when you're doing it and you look back and go, oh yeah, I learned that skill teaching. Or, why does that come into play when I'm hosting an event? Well, of course it does, because I'm giving the people the information they need at the time that they need it, which is what teaching is.
Yeah, and understanding what's going on before and after. Because like you say, quite often, you think the job is turning up, and I've got to tell people this, and this.
Yeah.
But actually, why do I need to tell them that? Why do they need to? How am I going to get them to actually listen? Because actually, this is important, but this is a boring safety line. How do I keep that going? And then how does it lead from me coming off stage to whoever else is coming on?
That's right.
Afterwards.
And that could be a 10-second gap. It could be a 10-minute gap.
Yeah.
And sometimes you do have to fill and, make that time valuable time. It's not, like that old DJ cliche that, dead air is a sin. No, you've got to fill it with valuable stuff, or know to get off, Just go, right, I'll leave you to it, folks, You don't want to listen to my voice all day just wittering on. I'll come back and I'll give you the information you need when you need it.
Yeah.
There's so many different skills that you bring in. So that's why I feel very comfortable and positive about this change in direction, because even though my hand was kind of forced a little bit by the cancer and the treatment and kind of what I'm left with, that's a very harsh way of kind of framing it, but ultimately that process of looking at what can I do now could have been incredibly negative, but I feel really positive about it because I am using all the things. This feels like the positive end point of all that experience rather than the scraps, the kind of leftovers.
Yeah.
And I think that's a choice, actually. I think you have to, in some way, you can choose your experience. So this is actually a lesson that I did get from the cancer treatment. So there was one moment where, because I was having radiotherapy, I had to have a mask fitted. And it's this kind of plasticky mesh. And it's hot, and they bring it out of the machine. There's quite a lot of them. They lay you on this table. And it's so basically they can line you up for the treatment with the lasers and then target cancer with the beam. So this mesh goes on, and they're poking and prodding you, and you've got your eyes shut, and it's weird. It's claustrophobic. It's kind of uncomfortably hot. I think it's at 80 degrees or something when it first comes out. So and then suddenly it tightens, and it's a bit like getting sort of hit by Spider-Man. And you're there, and you go, right, that's the position I'm now going to spend 10 minutes of every day for the next 6 weeks in. And it's really weird. And I've got that mask. They've given it to me afterwards as this kind of token. Now, when it finished, my partner Claire was in the room with it. She's like, all right. And I was just like, that was amazing. Because I kind of chose, weirdly, to find it amazing because I'll never do it again. It's a weird one-off experience. It's a positive thing because they're doing it to try and save my life.
Yep.
So the negatives of it, I kind of chose to filter into a positive
it's
way.
It's framing the experience, isn't it?
I think that's it.
And I think, that's quite an extreme example, but I often use simple examples of, the example I often use is, you're getting ready to decorate and, you're setting everything up and you get your ladder out and you get the paint pot out and you get it. Dog comes running in, hits the ladder, paint goes everywhere. Now, someone will be like, why does this always happen to me? It's like
I would be swearing.
Yeah, but then also you'd just be like,
I know.
And you can laugh about it.
Yeah.
And okay, probably that first minute, your body goes into the, wanting
rage,
to swear. But then you're just like, you couldn't make that bit up.
Yeah.
And it's how you frame that experience.
I think it is. And actually, I think having kids massively helps you do that because so much of your life is, weirdly, you're not in control of. And they're their own person, and you've got to kind of go with it and you've got to learn to do that and see the cool in it and the funny in it because otherwise, it's a slog and it's unrewarding. And I really think that out of this process, I mean, in that moment of that mask kind of tightening and everything, just coming out of that, it felt like a real conscious choice to find all of this really positive.
Yeah.
And I did. And I was really lucky in my treatment that I drove myself every day I live in Worthing, but I was driving to Brighton for treatment. They were really lovely people that I was working with. So this was like, I get to spend my day with nice people.
Yeah.
And I can't work. And there's a massive part of me going, oh, I can't work. And another part of me going, I can't work.
No.
Great.
I've actually got an excuse to slow down.
Yeah.
And stop.
Yeah. And the truth is I needed to, because I was, it definitely takes a toll on your body. And a lot of it I was quite unwell for, But, weirdly, I'd made a conscious choice to try and frame it as positively as I could. The hardest part actually came, as I say, this time last year, January, where the worst part of my recovery was 6 weeks after my treatment had finished, and I felt utterly depleted, couldn't sleep, was, really physically fraught because it was, I had so much adrenaline going in or whatever.
Yeah.
And that was my most self-pitying kind of time of going, when's this going to end? Because I can't keep going, this is all good, when it feels awful. And it just caught up with me. But I came out of that pretty quick, actually. So I was very lucky, I really was lucky in my whole treatment. I responded very well, and it wasn't as awful as it could have been. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've had a couple of people on the podcast here who've gone through, some life-changing experiences. And quite often they've framed it as, one did say, it was the best thing that happened to me. But, and obviously not in that exact time, but how it's changed their outlook.
Yeah.
And what doors it's opened up going forward. And other people have said, now I don't put things off. I had someone saying, I think it was their sister had passed away, and their sister always was saying, oh, yeah, I'm going to do that for my 40th, or I'm going to do that for my 45th birthday. They never made it to there. Yeah. So now they're like, no, I'm not waiting. It woke me up. It was an awful experience, but it's given me this outlook that is positively benefiting my life.
And, in so many different ways. I said about how the fatigue has reframed how I don't sleep. I still don't sleep very much, but at least I now sleep in when I do sleep, it's one solid chunk.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time I can use. Whereas sort of just drifting in and out and never feeling rested felt like dead time and really debilitating. So, now it's like if I wake up at 3:30, I'm going to the gym. I'm getting up and I'm using that time.
Yeah.
It's a long day and I'm tired, but I want to use my time.
Yeah.
That's the kind of big lesson, really. Be positive where you can be, because there's a lot you can't be positive about that just sort of happens. So I definitely tried to reframe it and then go, right, I'm going to be positive about it, and I'm going to try and use my time, and I'm going to set some goals, and I'm going to get there. Not in a fixed way, like it has to be at this stage by this time or else it's not valid. But I want to feel like I'm making positive gains.
Do you think there's a bit to be said for that sort of gratitude? A lot of people do a gratitude diary, or, today I'm grateful for these things. And it, because whatever is going on, there are always things that you can be grateful for. Yeah. And actually, I think the more positive you speak about yourself and speak to your mind, it keeps your mind going, because it is easy to slump yourself down and talk yourself into depression.
Yeah, and I had depression for many, many years, and it was really debilitating for exactly that reason, that never felt like I was on the right track. Whatever labour I put into something, that kind of effort or work, if it didn't deliver my fixed ideas about what it should deliver, it's a failure. Give up, start again.
Yeah.
And I joked about it earlier, I'm too old to start again, so I've got to make good on what I've got. But that's not a negative. It's like there's a sort of acceptance in that, going, okay, this is the new reality, whether that's a health thing that's taking you there, or that you've got commitments, which are, good and bad, depending on how you look at it. But what are you doing it for? But that's why I always return to that thing of keep yourself in the equation, because it's very easy to then try to be positive about stuff, but in a goal-oriented way. You're still not in that equation.
No.
Going, I'm going to be really positive because I've done this work today and I've earned this money and that gets me here in my career. And right, what about you? Did you enjoy yourself? Did you meet nice people? Was the minute-by-minute experience bearable? You know, because you can get just as burnt out feeling that you're on the right track as you can feeling you're on the wrong track.
That's a really nice line to finish on. I like that. Chris, thank you so much for chatting to me today.
Thank you,
coming along from, travelling over from Worthing as well, so we could do this in person, which I really appreciate. And always good to catch up. Like I say, I saw you at Battle Abbey, didn't we?
Yeah, it's brilliant.
while ago.
No, it's lovely seeing you, mate, really. And I love your podcast, so I was very happy to come on. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Balanced Ambition podcast. I genuinely hope the stories inspire you as much as they inspire me. If you found value in today's conversation, please share it with a friend. And remember, by subscribing, you won't miss an episode, and it would truly mean the world to me. Stay balanced, and I'll see you next time.